We're talking about starting a cold open practice from the ground up. Both of you have had awesome, successful careers. So first question, are you crazy and why? Starting a cold open practice, I know what that's like. It's hard work. So Brett, why don't you take it? I mean, what was your goal? What was your drive to do this?
Very, very good question, Nick. And thank you so much too for the invite. I know both Becky and I are just very honored to just be here, and it's just great chatting with you as well. When you look at the job landscape, Becky and I, we've been a part of like multiple different practices throughout our career, and we've always wanted to be a part of it. We've always wanted ownership. We wanted partnership was the big thing. And when you look at what has happened, especially like for our generation, the younger docs, is that it's been challenging to be able to get a buy-in that at least makes sense to us. And the big issue, the big culprit of that, I think, is private equity. Private equity has really changed the game in terms of what people think the value of their practice is at. So if you have, and the way that they kind of look at it is they use this term called EBITDA, which is like earnings before like interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. But basically what EBITDA means is just cash flow. What's the cash that's in the practice? And then they then tag a multiple associated with that. And like some practices are being valued at like a 10x multiple EBITDA. So you can see very quickly how like it just becomes almost doesn't make sense to be able to buying into these sorts of practices, to being able to do that, because it just becomes way too expensive. And then the other thing too is that, okay, like you help to create this value and now you are having to pay a multiple for that. So that was the big thing. Is like, I know both Becky and I, we want to be owners. We want to be owners of something. Like we just don't want to be employees. So that was the first kind of like thing that kind of set me off, being like, all right, well, I've tried this before and it's not working. So I really want to, if I'm going to get what I want, I need to start my own practice and be able to do that. And then that's when the fun starts. I know it's anxiety provoking. I went through 3 months of like nightmares of like, okay, me and my kids are going to be on the street. I got like an 8-year-old and a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old at the time. I'm going to be able to feed them. My wife as well. Like, what's going to happen? But then when you get over that kind of initial fear, being like, you know what, like other people have done it. Other people who have done it that maybe not be as talented as you are, but they believe in themselves. So that was the one thing I felt like I was lacking initially, was the belief in myself that I could do it, and probably Becky as well. But then when you get over that and you have that confidence and you get that belief, then it's like, all right, off to the races. And as you start building the story and building this team, there is just armies of people that just start jumping on board, like wanting to see you succeed, wanting to see you to be successful. And then you get to like develop your own vision, your own mission statement, your own core values. Like how do you want to operate this thing? And being able, it becomes like an outward manifestation of yourself, which just makes it so much more fun. Like, I mean, I've always loved being an ophthalmologist. I always loved eye care. I love doing eye surgery, but now I get to do it the way that I want. And it's really curtailed to like us and to how we want to do it, which has made it a ton of fun. So
I think I saw a picture of you swinging a sign outside of your location, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I think, yeah, anxiety for sure. I understand
Yeah.
that. And you got to start somewhere, but it's an investment in yourself. Becky, what do you have to add to that?
Thanks, Nick, again. I love getting to teach with you. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. I love everything you do. So I knew this would be a fun conversation. Everything that Brett said, I think a lot of us have felt in different ways throughout our career. And I think the belief in yourself, it's an interesting one. We know we're generally good at what we do when it comes to clinic and exam lanes, taking care of people. And it's a completely different experience to bet on yourself. And when you think of the biggest bet most of us probably ever made was first day of school. Whether it's med school or optometry school, we all made that conscious choice to bet on ourselves and that we could really excel and exceed in an area we're passionate about. And every single day I get to wake up and do something I love with people I really respect. And that's been the coolest part of this journey. There's an insane learning curve, right, guys? I mean, we generally learn new things every single day, and that's fun. it's challenging. You're never bored. I'll admit to that. And that's what I wanted. That's what I was looking for. And when Brett called me up and was like, "Hey, I've got this crazy idea," I was like, "I love crazy ideas." And I mean, everybody knows Brett Mueller. Everybody knows what he does, his surgical skill and his passion for our profession. And I'm like, this is kind of one of those once in a lifetime opportunities. And that's exactly what it's been. It's been a blast. I'd say we're learning every single day and the journey never ends.
Yeah,
I say the same thing about Becky too. The first time I met her, I was like kind of nervous. I was like, I get to meet the Becky Mueller. Like, wow. Like I got really super excited. And she actually treated me to dinner. Like I was like, wait, no, I'm supposed to treat you. She's like, no, I got this one. She like told the waitress ahead of time, just put it all on me. And so, it was just a really cool, like as our relationship has kind of started to build from last year. And then now as definitely we've been working together too. It's just been a lot of fun.
So how did you guys find each other to begin with then? If you didn't know each other for long term before this big business venture, I mean, you guys you're married. I mean, you're in this together. So how did that happen? How did that start?
Yeah, so we had met kind of peripherally probably like several years ago, and we both knew of each other, but just like our paths just never really crossed. But when Becky started getting wind of like what it is that I was doing, and also too like she had just made a jump into another scenario, another situation too, and so we just connected and we just started talking and just started communicating, and I was like, I want to do this thing, I want to build this practice, and like the practices that do it well, you need a good surgeon, and you really need a rock star like optometrist. And those are the practices that just go to the next level. And the ones that do it really well, they've got two surgeons. And so that's why we have two surgeons in our practice that we're doing it too. And so we really, and that was kind of the vision that we were kind of had. And I was like, I need to have somebody like it's going to be my right-hand person that is an optometrist that's really helping me to be able to see patients in the clinic, allowing me to be able to do what I love doing, which is doing surgery while she's, or while that person's like operating in the clinic, seeing patients and, practicing at the max at their level, allowing me to practice at the max at my level. And so that was kind of the genesis of how we all kind of started. And, it's just kind of morphed into what it is now. I mean, it happened pretty quickly though.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
when you know, like, yeah, that's like how it is. So,
well, I think numbers start speaking for themselves too, right? So if you start seeing the business growth, I mean, obviously you're looking at bottom lines, and if you see surgical outcomes improving, I think refractive surgery is such a cool space because it really does show the maximum level of what optometry can do and what ophthalmology can do. I mean, you got the best of the best. And you're totally right. The best clinics, if you look across the entire country, the best clinics do have rock star surgeons, rock star ophthalmologists, and optometrists, as well as the staff. I mean, everybody on board has to be on board, and they're involved whether they want to be or not, especially with a cold start. Yep. I mean, my journey is very similar to your guys. Very, very similar. I was at a practice in Michigan for 5 years, and it was a great practice. I loved working there. An opportunity came for me to join Dr. John Vukic, my clinic partner right now. And it was, we kind of got talking, and he told me the same thing. He's like, I want to build a practice, different from what he was doing. He was at a big clinic in about a town about an hour from Milwaukee here. And he said, I want to build a brand new clinic in my own vision, and I want to have a rock star optometrist come in and help build it. And I was maybe naive enough to say, yeah, sure, I'll make a move and jump on board. And my wife, who's super supportive, also an optometrist, was at a point in her career too where she's just frustrated enough where she was back in Michigan. Yeah, let's make a stupid decision and do it and see what happens. Well, when we moved from Michigan to Wisconsin, not a big move, but a move nonetheless, before kids or anything. So it was a convenient time for us personally. But we didn't know that a global pandemic was coming 2 months after. So yeah, we had moved and we started this clinic. We had like literally maybe dozens of patients at the time, not even. And all of a sudden the world shut down. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, holy crap, did we make the worst decision of our entire lives? What are we doing here?
Right.
It's too late at that point. I mean, what are we going to do? Stop, sell our house, go back to Michigan, no, we couldn't do that. You have to make it work. And
Yeah.
so we were forced to bet on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's how we got going.